Frank Zappa didn't have much luck with orchestras, to put it mildly. Okay, it seemed that throughout his career he tried his best. He loved classical music. He wrote so much 20th century classical music. His favourite composer was Edgard Varese, the mad professor of 20th century avant-garde classical music. And so much of his work was based on these kinds of principles. How come he wasn't all that successful with it? Essentially, what I want to do with the albums that I've wrapped around me, I've pulled from my collection here, is essentially do a couple of things. It's a bit of a two-headed show, this one. First of all, I want to talk about his orchestral side, and then that marries up into the Synclavier side, his synthesizer-based compositions, if you will. What I've got here is a wonderful little album from 1971, very, very naughty, with the London Symphony Orchestra and his Mothers of Invention at the time. Wonderful artwork by Cal Schenkel. It is called 200 Motels. Great double album, and that's dated 1971. He went into doing this album here. Some great music on this to be had. Keith Moon and Ringo Starr are two stars of the actual movie, so to speak, and a Theodore Bikel, very famous American actor, was also one of the main characters. And there you have 200 Motels. Cost him a fortune, apparently, and there you go. That's the first instalment. Getting into the second instalment, by the mid-70s, Frank Zappa was in all sorts of trouble with Warner Brothers. He had a big legal stoush with them, and what happened was Warner Brothers Records actually released 3 albums, Studio Tan, Sleep Dirt, and this little number here, Orchestral Favourites, which was Frank Zappa's second attempt at having his orchestral music played. Very good stuff on this, recorded throughout the 70s. Terry Bozzio was on drums, young Terry Bozzio, and you have things like Strictly Gentile, Pedro's Dowry, Naval Aviation in Art, Duke of Prunes, and Bogus Pomp. A lot of the material is very reminiscent from the 200 Motels, and of course it goes a step further. The problematic part of this was this album was released without his permission. So that's the problematic part about that. Once all that sort of got sorted and Frank Zappa was back on deck, he had another crack with the London Symphony Orchestra in 1983, and what came out was London Symphony Orchestra Zappa Volume 1, one of the first where he was using digital recording when it was starting to come around. This is around about 1983, I think is what it is, if I have a quick look. Yes, it is. Of his newly formed Barking Pumpkin Records album, or record label. The problem with the London Symphony Orchestra, it's well documented, so I hope I'm not slandering anyone, but Zappa made it quite clear that he wasn't happy with the goings-on with the orchestra. They worked to strict rules and guidelines, and apparently balked at some of the incredibly tricky music that Zappa presented to them, very polyrhythmic and multi-layered. And the horn section went off out to lunch and basically came back pissed. Okay, so what happened was they went off to the bar and got themselves a bit tiddled and came back. There's one particular track off of the Volume 2 album. I believe it is Strictly Gentile. I'll actually read it. I have done as much as possible to enhance this fine British craftsmanship. At least 50 edits in 6 minutes and 53 seconds, but to no avail. The human element remains intact. So poor old Frank, he'd spent close to $250,000 to hear his music get played, and it came out being played a bit crappily by his very, very high standards. Probably a little bit more successful was his work with Pierre Boulez and his ensemble I can't pronounce it properly, Ensemble Intercontemporain. That's the Australian way of speaking French. Anyway, Boulez conducts Zappa, and it's The Perfect Stranger. Wonderful artwork by Donald Roller Wilson. And it has also got the beginnings of Frank Zappa's Synclavier work, which he designated the Barking Pumpkin Digital Gratification Consort. And there you have it. And that's another one that Frank tried with an orchestra. He also did some work with... He wrote a ballet called Sinister Footwear. Bibs and Bobs pop up on You Are What You Is, the cover of which is the poster I've got behind me over there. And another part of it came up on the Them or Us album of 1984, the rock band version. There are bootlegs that exist of, I believe, the Cleveland Orchestra. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that, but an American orchestra anyway, let's just say, of them playing it. But it's never seen the light of day, so one has to wonder whether Frank's money went out the window with that as well, another failed orchestral project.